Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of UGASports Call-In Show with your host, Paul Maharry, alongside, as always, Trent Smallwood. We're here to take your questions. Phone line is open. We're going to have a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to have Arik Gilbert. We're talking big time about that. Obviously, with the news coming out that he has decommitted from Florida. Is he an option for Georgia? We'll discuss that with Brent Rollins a little later on. He's going to come on and talk about the tight end position for the Dogs and what it entails in Todd Monken's offense. We're also going to talk about a little bit of Diamond Dogs for you. They're 7-1. We're going to have Anthony Dasher come on and chat with Trent and myself. A couple other topics we're going to talk about, Trent, is Tom Crean the answer for Georgia basketball? We're digging deep. We're going to go deep because after that loss this past weekend against South Carolina, there are questions in Athens and in around Stegman. The next thing we're going to talk about is recruiting class of 2022. Trent, you're dropping your predictions over on the vault tomorrow for the class, right?
That's right.
So, yeah, we're going to dig in deep into that. Maybe Trent will give out a couple of spoilers. He's not going to give you the whole list. You got to be a member of UGASports for that. But he is going to maybe drop a few spoilers that he sees potentially being in this potential historic 2022 class, especially alongside the defensive line and what they've already got. So, guys, like I said, the lines are open, 706-363-3773. We are live and ready to go. First topic, Trent, it's on everybody's mind as we get more folks in here. When you jump in, make sure to comment. If you're not going to call us, let us know where you're talking to us from or chatting to us in the comment box. And then also, we're also going to have Dave McStats on as well to talk a little bit basketball. So we'll probably bring him on for that Tom Crean is the answer subject. So we've got a lot of people from UGASports that are going to call in, but that doesn't mean the phone lines will not be open for you guys as well to get in your questions. So to start it off, Trent, the news of the day, the news of the weekend, Mr. Gilbert is not going to be making his way to Gainesville. Trent, what is going on in this recruitment? Is it a recruitment or what do we call it when a kid's in the transfer portal? Is it a second recruitment, a second wave? What is the name for that?
Well, this is one of those ones where when he made his decision, I ultimately didn't think his decision was coming until the summer because he's not going to be able to enroll, so therefore he won't be able to sign. So I thought the decision was going to wait till the summer, and when he went ahead and made his announcements, he was not able to sign, and as you see, he has opened this process back up. He's going to go through his choices again. But I think the main thing is he's got to get himself right academics. I think that's first and foremost on his mind right now. He's got a ways to go before he's eligible in the fall. He was behind LSU. He's having to do some online classes this semester, and he's trying to get back on track. And I'm not sure he's quite there yet. There are probably some summer classes involved too, but you got to think Georgia's going to be in the running just because of the home state school. But I think that academics are the priority first and foremost for Gilbert.
Now, when you talk about academics, isn't it for folks that don't follow it too closely or follow recruiting closely, they just don't know exactly the ins and outs of it. Now, if he can't enroll in Florida due to academics, could he enroll in another SEC school? Well, how does that work out?
I mean, I don't think that if it happened today and the season was coming up, I don't think he'd be eligible. But it is only March, so I guess tomorrow's March. So I guess he has some time, and I guess that all depends on if he gets to work on these online classes that he's doing this semester, and if he can knock it out. But I mean, I don't think he can enroll today, if that's your question. But you don't know what can happen between now and August. But even if he does enroll, I think this is going to be the late summer edition, and wherever he ends up.
Trent, I think we have our first caller on the line. Who do we have here giving us a buzz?
Hey guys, it's Brandon.
What's up, brother? How's life treating you, man? Appreciate you starting us off as always. What's going on out there in Athens, Georgia? Pretty good day for some golf. Did you get out and golf today, man?
No, man. I'm dead set against cart path only, and I figured that it would still be a little wet on the fairways. I'm not on the fairways too often, but it's kind of nice to drive the cart out there when you get a chance.
Right. So what's got you calling? What's got you calling in on this Sunday night?
Well, I appreciate it, like always, taking my call. Not long ago we heard some news of an LSU tight end, a big monster guy, Arik Gilbert, has, I guess, decided he isn't interested in going to Florida.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah.
What do you think the chances that he makes any appearances in Athens, or what do you think the chances are that maybe he just stays at LSU or heads back over down to Gainesville?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and answer the call for you. I'm going to drop you off so you can watch it on YouTube, Brandon, if that's all right. Yep. We'll answer that for you, though. We appreciate you calling in as always, man.
Have a good one.
You too, brother. Brandon starting us off again, but what is the chances we see him in Athens, Trent? I mean, what is there a percentage you want to put on this thing? I know it's early. I know the news just popped. I know that he was headed to Gainesville. I mean, up until this afternoon, and so what are the percentages that he shows up in the red and black?
I'm not gonna go into percentages because it is it is a very touchy thing, and I think I thought Georgia's chances were decent, the first time around.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The fact that he didn't enroll or didn't sign, which he was not able to at the time, allowed him to be a committed recruit. I mean, it's basically you're committed to a school, but you're openly. I mean, you can openly still be recruited, but you're just committed. So it sounds to me like not only about the grades thing, but maybe some of his friends or something, or maybe he's talked this to other advisors or whatever that somebody's gotten in his ear, and maybe there's a chance he does stay closer to home. But I do think that something's changed the whole dynamic of the situation, and I'm interested to see moving forward to see if Georgia's in the mix and how hard they go after him.
You're exactly right. I think that the biggest thing we're going to have to look for, Trent, like you said, grades. We're going to have to dig deep into that for you guys, and we'll have some updates over on the Vault as much as we can. This was definitely, I think, a surprise, right, Trent? This wasn't something that we thought was going to happen after he committed to Florida. I think the commitment to Florida might have been a surprise, but this was just completely out of nowhere, the decommitment from Florida, right?
Yeah, I think it was a surprise, and I think it probably caught Florida staff off guard because when you get a commitment in the portal, you kind of I guess you kind of feel like, okay, he's part of this team. He's here. But the fact that when he committed, he was not able to sign, just basically puts you as a commit, and you can be openly recruited still, and something's happened between now and then. Somebody's got in his ear or whatever the case may be, and he's decided that Florida might not be the best situation for me. I understand the whole Kyle Pitts situation at Florida.
Right. We discussed. I think that we discussed that. I think a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, and being able to put tight ends in the NFL, but the quarterback situation's changed in Gainesville, and that might be one thing that other coaches are putting in his ear. So.
And Trent, as we move topics right now, we've got a special caller calling in, our man Anthony Dasher of UGASports. So don't upset him too much, Trent. I think he could get us fired if he'd like. What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? We're talking about Arik Gilbert. Where we're kind of going to move on from that and move over to the Diamond Dogs, 7-1 so far.
Yeah.
I know that this is your spot, right? I know you love covering football and basketball and everything, but you're at home in the press box over a baseball field. So what have you seen in these Dogs in these first couple weekends, just kind of overall?
Well, overall, been pretty impressive. There's a very, very young team, especially from the the pitching standpoint. They've been missing Ryan Webb, who came back and pitched yesterday. He's been like me, recovering from COVID.
Yeah,
and he's just now getting back on the mound. And Jonathan Cannon has been dealing with mono, and he's not going to get back till probably after next week. We're also missing guys like Michael Polk and
Brandon Smith, and those 4 key guys who aren't really pitching right now. They've had to lean on a lot of true freshmen, left-handers at that, which has been very unusual. Like last weekend, all 4 starters were lefties. That's something I've never seen in all the years I've been covering this team. But the young kids have been pretty impressive. I mean, granted, your Evansville's and your Gardner Webbs, they're not the world beaters that they're going to face when they
right.
SEC play, but they're a good, solid team. And the kid that pitched yesterday, for Gardner Webbs, the guy's going to be drafted in the first 3 rounds. So they play some decent competition, but overall, they played well today. The bats finally got going after being kind of slow going the first 5 or 6 contests. Broke out with 4 home runs today, and so that was a good for them to see. Now they at Kennesaw State Tuesday, and they bring in North Florida this upcoming weekend.
Now, Dash, I did a little bit of research before you called in. 1.10 WHIP as a team right now overall for the pitching staff. I mean, that's pretty good. And then the other thing that I saw was Corey Collins, the freshman from North Gwinnett, is swinging the bat pretty heavily. What's your thoughts on the 2 freshman catchers that they have and kind of being able to move this pitching rotation into SEC play? Are they going to be able to, have enough leadership, I guess, behind the plate?
Yeah, I definitely think so behind the plate. I mean, Fernando Gonzalez is really an interesting story. As a 16-year-old, he came from Panama, just moved by himself. Found a host family in Florida, lived there for a year, and found one in Atlanta in Marietta and lived there for a couple of years. He hadn't actually played actual ball. It's been fun. This is his first sophomore year in high school. Now, granted, he did in 2019. He had a summer league. He played a perfect game over there with get play a full summer season. But hasn't played a lot of baseball. But he's a guy they really like. I think he can be that total package. You don't see a lot of catchers who are very good offensive players, but I think he's got a chance to be that. And of course, Corey Collins, young man from North Gwinnett, guy 6'3", 240 pounds. He's still like he's already 27 years old. He's put together. He's one of the more physically developed freshmen that I've seen, come through here in a long time. He's already got 2 bombs. He's at over 400. He's only struck out, I think, twice in like 24 or so at bats so far this year. So both those young men have been very, very impressive.
Dash, what are you thinking kind of once they get into SEC play? I know you hinted at it a little bit. These teams that are playing right now obviously aren't world beaters, but what are your thoughts kind of moving into SEC play? Is this a team we could see in moving forward into the postseason? Where are they at right now, in your opinion?
I still think Georgia can make the field of 64, but man, the SEC is just so loaded again.
Right.
Georgia's picked between 4th and East. That's probably fair. I mean, Vanderbilt with 2 more Rocker and Jack Lyman they go in a lot of ball games. I'll just put it like that. And Florida is loaded this year as well. Tennessee is an up and coming team. Got some good young pitchers as well. They're going to be the first SEC team Georgia faces. But there could be some growing pains. Again, Georgia has a lot of young kids who are going to have to step up and play this year. I mentioned all those freshman pitchers. They're going to have their lumps. I mean, that's just going to go in the territory. But overall, I think the season wears on. As they get more experience, you'll see them. I think you'll see them play pretty competitive ball over the course of the spring. And I think they'll sneak in and be a 3rd seed somewhere.
Well, Dash, I know that, I'm glad that you're recovering from COVID. I'm sure Trent is as well. The last question I want to ask you about baseball has nothing to do with Georgia, but actually, a relative of yours, Carter Holton. Why couldn't you bring him to Georgia? I mean, this kid's going to Vandy. He's throwing, 17 Ks the other day in a 7-inning game? What was that?
They played Richmond Hill. It was a 4-18-hole Benedictine now as well. He struck out 17 and 7 innings, was hit 93, 94. But Georgia was the second team to offer Carter. I mean, they tried their best to get him. I think Duke was the first team, but he had his heart set on going to Vanderbilt. And when you look at what Vanderbilt has put out pitching baseball, kind of hard to argue with. But we'll see. I mean, they had 18 Major League scouts was his first game last week, and not sure how many were there, this past Wednesday, but he's going to have a chance to get drafted relatively early. I know talked to a couple of scouts who were very, very high on him. So we'll see. I'm also very excited for him. He's a good, hard-working kid, and deserves all the success he's able to have so far.
Well, Dash, I know we're going to be following along with that. Glad you're back from COVID, man, and we appreciate you calling in and talking some Diamond Dogs with us, man.
Sure. Y'all take care.
All right, brother. There you go, Trent. Like I said, his cousin. Have you seen his cousin? Have you looked?
I've seen videos.
Because I know you're big into the AAU circuit with your son. He's a little bit younger than ready to go play for the Dogs, but I think you still got the AAU hat on right now. Is that right?
Yeah. This is his travel team last year. So
yeah. So I mean, Dash's cousin is the real deal. If you guys haven't looked him up, Carter Holton at Benedictine, you need to go take a look at him. He's headed to Vandy to be a pitcher, but at the same time, I don't see him going to college. I think he's a first-round talent. He's a lefty that is 93, 94 with his fastball, a killer breaking ball. I don't see it. We got our first comment in the chat. You guys have been quiet in the chat tonight, man. You guys are watching. Tell us where you're watching from. Join up. Colby Ellis says, "What's up, y'all?" He says Georgia. He says we don't need, in quotation marks, Gilbert, but it would be nice as hell to have him. I think that's kind of the consensus, right, Trent? I don't think you need him, but here's a stat for you. I was gonna pull it out when Brent Rollins called, but 368 reception yards for Gilbert last year at LSU, 369 reception yards for Georgia tight ends as a whole last year. 1 yard more between McKitty, Fitz, Washington, and I think Seether had a catch as well. 1 yard more than Gilbert, Trent.
Yeah, I mean, the stats are there, and I think Georgia struggled with the tight end limit early, and that got a little better when JT took over at quarterback. But here's the thing: you have a talented tight end with Darnell Washington in Athens, but
yeah,
you can, as Kirby says, and as Kirby recruits, especially as evident of the quarterback the last 2 years, you stack talent. That's how you win championships. You stack talent, and eventually that talent is just going to overtake. And while Georgia might not need him, and Georgia has playmakers at positions that Gilbert would play, it's never a terrible thing to have another one. So
yeah,
he would definitely. I mean, the thought of lining Darnell and Gilbert up at the same time on the field is just a nightmare. With Pickens on the outside and Burton on the outside and all these playmakers that Georgia's got. I mean, you've seen what Arian Smith can do when he's single coverage, and when that attention goes to guys like Gilbert and Pickens and Washington. I mean, Arian Smith is a dangerous cat out there. So
yeah.
There's just so many playmakers, and just add another one's it's not a bad thing.
So we've already touched on Arik Gilbert. We've touched on those Diamond Dogs with Dash, along with Dash's incredible cousin, Carter Holton, who I can't speak on enough. The kid is phenomenal. The next topic, Trent, this one's going to get dirty, I think. We're going to bring in Dave McStats if he's around to talk on this one. But you guys also can give us a call, 706-363-3773. The phone line is open. We'd love to hear from you guys. We've got a few guys in the chat. John Anthony says, watching from Dalton, Georgia. Hope you had a good sunny day today up there, John. He said he's always loved Arik's game. Very true. Jason Stewart says, Gilbert will be lucky to ever play again from everything he's read. What's up with UGA basketball? Obviously, Green isn't the answer. We're getting there, Jason. We're getting there. Dante Green says Georgia doesn't need him, but he'd love to have him. I think that's kind of where everybody the consensus is right now. I don't think Georgia needs him. They don't have a need at tight end position. But with a guy like Gilbert, if you're able to bring him in, you don't say no, unless it's some type of, personality clash. But I know from a fact that Kirby wants the best guys, and personalities, he's going to kind of wipe those personalities out once they get onto the field. They're all the same. You bring in Gilbert if he wants to come, and his grades check out and everything like that. It's curious to find. I'm very curious. I'm sure you are as well, Trent, to find out what exactly happens, or what exactly happened for him to decommit from Florida. I'm sure that story will kind of come out throughout the week, so we can hear about what happened there, because that might be a reason why Georgia doesn't go after him. So it could be one of those things that we're talking about for nothing, because he's not going to make it anyway. So let's see here. Dave McMahon says Georgia has had a tight end drafted in the NFL drafts, Charlie Warner and Isaac Nada, despite low catches they got drafted. So that is true, Dave. That is very true. So you don't have to make catches, but it is nice to have a catching tight end.
And they possibly could have one drafted this year as well in McKitty. So
yeah. I could definitely see McKitty getting it. We got a Clemson fan in here saying Gilbert is headed to Clemson. That'll be interesting to see. See him out there with DJ would be nice. Colby Ellis says Clemson doesn't take transfers. So yeah, we'll see what happens right there. So one of the bigger things that I saw moving forward. We got a call actually right here. Let's see who this is, Trent. Oh, they hung up. Never mind. I think that might be Dave McMahon. If you're out there, give us a call, man. Let's talk about these hoop dogs real quick. I think, that was Dave. He called in and he hung up. Wasting our time over here, mixed stats. But the next question is Crean the answer, man? Is Crean the answer? Because this performance, Trent, I'm telling you, Dave's actually calling in. I'm going to bring him in. Thanks for calling UGA Sports call-in show with Trent and Paul. Is this Dave McMahon?
Yeah, it's Dave.
Hey, Dave, what's going on, brother? You just called in at the perfect time because we were about to touch on is Crean the answer for Georgia. I think a lot of people have questions about that, man. And Dave, from a statistical standpoint, is Crean the answer at Georgia? I know you're coming in. We're hitting you hard up front with the first question. Didn't even ask you how your weekend was. I'll get to that later. But I'm hitting you with a hard question first. Statistically, is Crean the answer?
No. Yes, it looks like Georgia's going to have a winning record by default because they had a really good non-conference schedule, and they'll end up a winning record overall, but they'll still have a losing record in conference play, and that's where you win these battles. And obviously, so it looks like Crean will go up and up and up in records, but I don't think it's enough. It looks like Georgia is 13th out of 14 in field goal defense. They are 11 of 14 in 3-point defense. They're last in turnovers. So they're throwing the ball away and they're giving away easy points. So that to me statistically means like he's not ready. Can a coach come back after 3 seasons? Yeah. Obviously baseball is a perfect example. After 3 seasons of bad with Strickland, he turned it around.
Right.
Can Crean do it? I don't know. He had success at Marquette. He had success in Indiana. Can he do it here? I don't know if he's getting enough recruits. He has 2 good ones coming in, but it's sad when Georgia has a lot of great recruits in the state of Georgia in high school talent, and they're not getting any of them. It's one thing losing to the Dukes in North Carolina, but they're also losing to the Auburns and Alabamas, and that's what's frustrating for Georgia fans.
Trent, you can hop in and ask Dave any questions at any time you want. I don't want to be the only one taking the limelight to Dave McStats here. But after that performance against South Carolina and losing twice to South Carolina, that South Carolina team, just from a standpoint of a guy who played basketball back in high school and nowhere near playing at the collegiate level, right? But I played varsity, okay? I was pretty good. That South Carolina team was not the best. And they lost twice to them.
They're terrible.
Yeah, it is what it is. Call a spade a spade. I didn't see any effort on the defensive side of the ball. They were letting guys cut to the paint and not even coming close to them. Wide open layups, wide open threes. They tried to run a type of press man defense there at the end that was atrocious. They had like 2 turnovers that they caused from it, and then after that, it went all to hell. How do you?
But what's weird is that like every once in a while Georgia does do that, and it's just like they don't get enough consistency in doing that. There's a couple of games, like how many times when Georgia played against the Ole Misses, they dominated, and Ole Miss is a pretty good team overall. LSU, they looked really good against them. Missouri, they looked really good. So there's times they have looked really good in defense, but it seems like game in and game out they're not getting that effort.
What do you think?
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say like the old thing back in the '90s, in the '80s and '90s was Nolan Richardson at Arkansas, the 40 minutes of hell. Georgia seems like they always give like a 30 minutes of hell sometimes, and obviously 30 minutes of hell doesn't win you all the ball games.
The game against South Carolina looked like 3.5 minutes of hell, and then we gave up 56.5 minutes the rest of the way. Jason Stewart over in the chat says they didn't lose to USC Junior, Paul. They got blown out. Yeah, you're exactly right. It was tough basketball to watch. I even put that in the group chat. It was tough basketball to watch, especially when you have guys out there like Wheeler, getting the triple double. Was it the game before, right, Dave? It was the game before that one.
The game before,
game before first ever
men's basketball history.
Yeah, first ever triple double in UGA men's basketball history. Then he comes out 7.7 rebounds, 7 turnovers. There's not anybody that can shoot the ball. KD Johnson's good, but he's young. He hasn't had enough experience. There's so many. Kamara looks good at times. They don't have
Georgia has a few good players. The problem is you can't win off a few good players. You have to have 1 or 2 players that are also elite to go with those good players.
Yeah, I just
couldn't win off good.
I couldn't see a cohesive unit out there. I see Edders getting to play as the walk-on more minutes than some of the scholarship guys are. You've got grad transfers from here, there, and everywhere that were trying to be stopgaps for Crean, and trying to get.
Is Crean going to have to do that again this year? Like that? Are they going to? Is that the way they're going to have to recruit again?
I mean, they don't have Trent. To my knowledge, I don't know if you can look this up, Trent. I don't think they have that many guys committed for this next class. They don't have 7 guys to fill in where these grad transfers and seniors are leaving. So yeah, I think you have to kind of roll the dice that way again. And it didn't work out this year. You couldn't find any shooters. It's time to start kind of looking in a broader range, I guess. And. I don't know if Crean's the answer in Georgia. I don't know if, like you said, Dave, Strickland, it took him 2 years for UGA baseball to turn around. Now we're talking about a team that's consistently good. Can Crean do that? I think that there's some broken relationships in the high school basketball recruiting ranks in the state of Georgia. So we'll touch on that moving forward. Trent, you got anything else from McStats before we let him roll there?
No, I just think if you're counting on the grad assistants in basketball,
grad transfers, yeah.
Grad transfers. You can find them in football because you might have a talented quarterback sitting behind a 5-star, but in basketball, if you're relying on grad transfers, you're in for a long haul. But just the way that the guys are they're going in NBA after year 1, and if you're counting on a 3 or 4 year guy coming in that's been in somebody else's system and to come in and be your savior, it's not going to work out for you then.
I agree. I agree with Trent. I mean, the reason why Strickland turned it around after a couple of years, he had a dominating recruiting class that helped save him, and that class was outstanding. And by the time those guys were sophomores and juniors, Georgia reaped the rewards. And right now, it does not look like it's going to be that way for Georgia. I mean, they have 2. On the UGASports.com website, Tyrone Baker and Cameron McDowell. I've heard good things about McDowell as of late, but I mean, will they save the day? And you talked about the shooters. I always go back to what former head coach Hugh German said for Georgia. We have enough shooters. We just needed more makers.
And that's exactly right. We got a bunch of shooters on the UGA staff too. So, Dave, keep doing your thing, man. We appreciate you giving us a call in.
I'll pay attention to what's going on.
All right, brother. Have a good one, my man. And that's Dave McStats there, our statistician over at UGASports.com. Trent, I think we're almost ready for our man Brent Rollins to come in here, and you can take this one over when he calls in. He's going to be talking analytics about the tight end position with Todd Monken. So he is going to be calling in here in just a second. Let's talk about some comments here while he's calling in, though, Trent. Cool Cell, what's happening, brother? Appreciate you calling in last week. He said with the loss of wide receiver Tommy Bush to the portal, will UGA get a grad transfer at the wide receiver position? Trent, take it away.
This isn't meant to sound hard, but Tommy Bush hasn't really played in the 3 years he's been there, so I don't think he's really making an impact to the total numbers as far as quality guys in that system. And I think Tommy Bush has can make an impact somewhere because he's been hurt in Athens. He's just had some tough luck, but he's just never been able to get healthy enough to make that impact at Georgia. And I'm as far as numbers go, I'm not sure that that's going to impact those numbers. And we talked about this before. I think Georgia could elect, if they do elect to go to the portal for a wide receiver, and I think it's going to be a slot speedy, with more speed, because you got the guys like George Pickens who can, he still has the potential of taking the top off the defense, but when you're strictly talking from a speed standpoint, taking the top off, you got Arian Smith, and that's really the end of the line. I mean, Kyrus Jackson's an excellent playmaker. He's smooth. He's got excellent hands, and he's good in short areas, quickness. But as far as overall speed, I think Smith's that guy, and it's never bad to add another one. But I don't think they're necessarily going to go out and just search for one, just for a number.
And we have on the line with us Brent Rollins. Brent, what's going on, man?
Hey, good evening. How we doing, fellas?
Good evening. We were just talking about Tommy Bush leaving, and I wanted to put a quick comment into here before you and Trent get to rolling on this. What is your thought about maybe giving that scholarship to a guy like Jalen Johnson?
He played.
Right. That was my first thought. He played. He played a lot.
You look at it. He got significant snaps. There were some times, I think, maybe even in the Florida game, where he was getting significant snaps and high leverage snaps, not just random 2nd and 10 kind of deal, but key sort of high leverage 3rd down type snaps.
So that would be an option there for you, cool sell for potentially filling that position. We did just get something in our chat here that we'll talk on as well. But Brent, the reason I wanted to bring you on was so that you and Trent could talk about these tight ends, man. We've had questions all night about Arik Gilbert and what he could bring to Georgia, but you had a really good breakdown piece over on UGASports.com. One of the main takeaways that I took away from it was 369 receiving yards for all 4 of the tight ends for Georgia last year, 368 receiving yards for Gilbert, 2 touchdowns, and 2 touchdowns for Georgia tight ends as well. So I'm going to let you and Trent go back and forth here, and I'm going to drink some Gatorade. So tell us about the tight end position and Todd Monken.
Well, I think the reason I did the piece as I did, because, and really there's a consecutive weeks of pieces where you had one looking at wide receivers and running backs, and then 2, the second one looking specifically at the tight ends. And I went back and watched every single offensive play from the season. And when you just see consistently over and over again, 3, 4, 5 times a game where just wide open plays, what I would consider, and what I, was when I coached youth football, I tell the QB, hey, take the layup. What I would consider a layup, give it the basketball jargon. But so many layups that were created for the quarterback. And the tight end one, I had to separate it out by itself. Because, unfortunately, a lot of them, the ball didn't even go to the tight end. It was just the biggest human on the field, Darnell Washington, running roughshod and just in a wide open green space. And, the coincidence of the fact that 2 days later, Arik Gilbert is saying, "No, sorry, I'm not going to Florida." It's just, I will say that was quite funny.
What do you think the difference is? I mean, between a guy like Arik Gilbert and Darnell Washington, and you think that would kind of be like a dynamic duo, like that they've had, like Brady's had in the NFL in the past, and
very much so. Like what you said with Brady there. You think, I mean, obviously it's not fun to bring up the name, but you think back to when they had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
To where just what they could do with those 2 tight ends and how unique they could be because of the skill sets. Because Gronk, and what Gronk doesn't get a lot of credit for, is his ability as a blocker. He is basically a 6th offensive lineman and a very, very good 6th offensive lineman. And that plus his receiving skill set, to me, is what you get with Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington did a heck of a job this season, I think, and was one of the highest graded tight ends in the Power 5 in terms of run blocking. He was just really good, and for someone who'd never really done it as a high school kid. But you combine that with what Gilbert gives you and his very sort of Pitts-esque more receiver-esque look and skill set, the options are just endless. Because what was even more interesting, when you think about once Georgia had JT Daniels in a quarterback, the amount of 2 tight ends that they played, 12 personnel, just shot up significantly. It was up around, in the higher 30% the rest of the season. I think a lot of it was to protect him, but also just, become more and more that was their offensive scheme.
What do you look for in the next level when you're looking at that tight end sequence, and kind of what's the next progression for Georgia moving into next year with Darnell Washington being a year older, obviously not a true freshman? What do you look for as a progression with Monken in that offense?
Finding ways to get him matched up on the outside and splitting him out a little more. We saw it occasionally. Obviously, we saw a lot more of it in the last 2 weeks than we saw in the entirety of the season. And I think that was purposeful in many ways. But not just the Gilbert factor, but the kid himself, and getting the kid himself a lot, just more targets and more involved. But getting him outside, and we saw it a few times early. And I remember, I don't know if it was Auburn or Tennessee, it was one of those games where Stetson threw one up to him, and it was just a very short, I think Washington maybe even got a pass interference or had to knock the ball away, like not even giving him a chance to go truly box out a DB. But I think you saw that, the catch and run that he had against Cincinnati. There was another play later in the game where Daniels looked to the left, and he had Washington one-on-one on the short side of the field on the right, split out. I think he even missed Zamir White wide open on that same play. But it was that's to me the next evolution, is taking Washington and moving him around outside, splitting out. Because when people think about and look at Kyle Pitts, how they did and how they lined him up in just different place after different place to find matchups for him was astounding. And that was sort of the brilliance of Mullen this past year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a stat where I think he only lined up at tight end, actual tight end position, I think 50% of the time. The rest of it, he was lined up outside, inside, just different mismatch places. Is that somewhere you see, I don't want to get folks, heads in the clouds too much. Do you see Washington kind of evolving into a Pitts potentially? Or is he more of a blocking with the capability to make a downfield play for 30 yards and break free type tight end?
No, I think to me, he's more Gronk than he is Pitts.
Okay.
Like, just from the physicality standpoint and the ability to just physically overmatch defensive backs or really whomever is covering him. He is a first off the bus cat for them. And no doubt about that.
And before we let you go, Brent, one name I want to bring up to you, and I don't know if you've been able to study him too much, is a name that we saw get kicked off the team at Clemson. Darion Kendrick. What are your thoughts on him? I know you study those grades over at PFF, and you see guys all the time. He obviously was a first team All-SEC 2020, second team All-ACC 2019, 3 interceptions for his career. What's your take on this guy?
He hasn't, obviously I think he was a former 5-star type recruit, but he hasn't lived quite up to that yet.
Yeah.
He's had flashes of that, but like if you think about, now granted their entire defense got torched against Ohio State, but just against Ohio State alone, to give up 4 receptions for 122 yards and a couple touchdowns. But on the season, and over his career, so over this career, he's really only played the last 2 years. He's only allowed 51% completion in his coverage. So he's done some things and made some plays and had some good coverage games. It's just not been consistent on a week-to-week basis. Played well against Notre Dame a couple times they played him, but still yet, I think with him, though, it's one of those where, like, if you compare him to, say, Drashaun Miller, who from West Virginia,
right,
who everyone kind of everything seemed to align that the kid would end up here, end up at Georgia because of his coach now being the secondary coach at UGA. But I think the Kendrick kid is very much more of from an ability standpoint there. The Miller kid had a lot more high quality play,
right?
But maybe not necessarily the tools and a skill set that UGA would want to have on there versus compared to what they already have.
So you see, I guess to wrap this all up, Brent, I appreciate you calling in. You can call in whenever you want, man. The line is open for you whenever. We love chatting with you. I want to wrap up this Kendrick thing because we're getting some comments in the chat now about it. We know Georgia likes speed at the corner positions. We know that. Stokes, Campbell, Kirby likes speed at his corner positions. Is this guy a guy that you see that has enough speed that could play that outside corner for Georgia if they lined up week 1 against Clemson? Does he have that speed that Georgia looks for? Not saying that he's coming to Georgia, folks. Lord, I'm not trying to say that. But I'm saying, does he have the speed? Does he? Yeah, I don't want that to start. Does he have the speed to be out there? Because that was kind of the knock on Miller, right? You're a West Virginia guy. You love him. That was the knock on Miller, and I think that's why it didn't work out with Georgia. He just wasn't fast enough for Kirby's system where they put him out on islands out there, and you're on Revis Island out there by yourself, and you got to be able to stay with that wide receiver. Does Kendrick have enough speed to play in Kirby's system?
Yeah, I think he has the skill set to play here.
Well, there you go, folks. So, I mean, it's more of a fit, I think, than Miller, but I think that, getting kicked off at Clemson over there with Dabo, something had to have happened. So, if Georgia is going to look...
It's always one of those, why is he going away? Why?
Right.
Why? It's just like free agency.
Right,
The team didn't choose to sign the guy, so why?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So if something happens with Kendrick, it would be, we would definitely be entertaining it. We've heard rumblings of it. Anytime a corner, and we've said this on every show, Trent, anytime a corner enters into the portal that has a name of a 3-star or above that played at any type of program, Georgia fans are going to look at him because they think there's a problem there at corner, which if you're over on UGAsports.com, or you can even check out the podcast with Jim Donnan, he stated that, Georgia might not be in as bad a position at corner, and he went over the corners that are on the roster. Jason Butt did a recap of it over on the website. So, but Kendrick, according to PFF Brent, who he's not going to lie to me, he's not going to lie to Trent, I believe what he says, could fit into Kirby's system. Now, do the character issues fit into Kirby's system? That's going to be what we look at moving forward. Brent, you got anything else for us, big dog?
Well, it's one of those things where you talk about the other part and the getting kicked off the team. At that point, that's a rock bottom,
right?
Especially you might try hey, can I put my name in the draft or supplemental draft? Who knows? There's all sorts of possibilities there. But if he's going to play another season of college football, you just now hit rock bottom.
You're exactly
and
right.
Thus, where are you going to go that's going to absolutely motivate you beyond any other program, or possibly the one that plays your old team the first game?
Yeah, I didn't want to put too much hype behind this, Brent, but damn it if you did. You put it on there. That's exactly – no, you're exactly right, though. Yeah, I didn't want to do it, but you're exactly right.
It's more just you're thinking about, hey, if you have those issues or that concern in terms of why the reasons, who knows the reasons exactly why, but
right.
If you have those concerns, you look for a kid who's going to admit fault, know that he's hit rock bottom, but what's going to motivate that person? What's going to motivate that player? Playing your old team in game 1?
Week 1, line it up against Justin Ross,
might motivate you to be on your absolute best behavior.
It's a very real possibility, and if there is any inkling that Kirby can see that might be exactly what is his motivating factor, he's going to use it, and he's going to try to use it to his advantage. So, Brent, we love speaking with you, man. Hopefully, we can speak to you a lot more during the season. After games, we're going to be live for everybody that's watching now. We've got 60 viewers right now. We appreciate it. If you're watching us, make sure to drop into the comment section where you're watching from. That's one of our favorite things, is hearing where you guys are currently sitting right now, what city and state and all of that good stuff. You get to listen to Anthony Dasher earlier, Dave McStats. We've got PFF Brent on, and we're going to have Brent on a lot more during the season after games. He doesn't know it yet. I haven't told him, but he's going to be on a lot more after games for instant analysis of games with Trent and myself or whoever's on, so we can talk about games after they happen Saturday nights and get just immediate breakdown. So if you're watching with us now, this is your first time listening to PFF Brent on the Call-In Show. I promise you it won't be the last. So, Brent, appreciate you calling in, brother.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take it easy. Yes, sir. Man, dude, he dropped some knowledge on us, dude. He dropped some knowledge on us, man. And that's the thing you get with PFF Brent. I think he's got like 17 doctorate degrees, something crazy like that. I know I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but the man is – he's got a lot more smarts in his head than Trent and I combined, probably. So he's going to –
He does coach football with David Pollock. So
yeah, he does. Yeah, you're right. He does coach. I think he coaches baseball, basketball, everything with David Pollock. So he's got it made in the shade over there in terms of football knowledge. He's great at it. Guys, the line's open, 706-363-3773. We're going to be wrapping up here in about 5 or 10 minutes. But if you want to get that call in, the line is open. Rhett Womack says he's watching from Swainsboro, Georgia. Brett Weimer says St. Mary's, Georgia. We appreciate you guys as always. Cool Cell, Jason Stewart, the regulars, Mitchell Fletcher out here, Dave McMahon, of course. And Rhett Womack says Corey Collins is going to be the next Gordon Beckham. Book it, at least the highest drafted player position at Georgia. I agree. I that's why I brought him up. I find diamonds, man. I find diamonds. That's why I brought him up, Trent. Okay, it's not because the kid's hitting 450. He's got 2 bombs already as a freshman. No, I brought him up because I found him. Okay, and when he gets drafted, me and Rhett are going to be talking about this kid, saying we were the ones that told you first, even though he's crushing it right now. But Trent, the last thing on the talk track, if you will, tomorrow is a new day. That day is March 1st. The reason I bring that up in any significance to you guys is that Trent is putting out. Trent, you are putting out, correct? 100%?
Yeah.
Okay. 100%. Trent is putting out his projected class of 2022, football class of 2022, recruiting class of 2022 over on the UGA Sports Vault. Trent, tomorrow's a big day for you. Folks, you get the most likes on your freaking post every year. I'm upset about it a little bit, but it's okay. You can have your moment, whatever. Trent, tomorrow's a big day, though. Folks have been asking for this for the past few months. What can you tell us about it? Can you give us two names you're going to have on that list? Keep the rest of them for the subscribers, but 2 names?
All these people knew how bad I struggled with this. Predict a class. What is it? 11 months ahead of time. So
yeah,
trying to go through and and see what's on each 17-year-old's mind and what they're going to do is tough, but I'm going to give my best shot at it tomorrow. And, I think that, a couple names that I have included on there initially is the Oscar Delp tight end. He's building that relationship with Gunnar Stockton over there at Hustle Inc. and the 7-on-7. And that's a name that's going to be on there. And Michael Williams, defensive lineman, in-state, sticking with the in-state theme. I think that's going to be big for Georgia this year. Not knowing when this whole thing's going to open back up.
Right.
Those are the I'm going with. And the rest of the list will come out tomorrow around noon at UGASports.com. But that's a couple names that I got penciled in there right now.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this on a couple of shows in the past. In-state recruiting this year especially is going to be big because of COVID. Last year was a little bit different because a lot of those guys were able to get on campus at least once or twice, maybe even 3 times before COVID hit, see some practices even. This year it's been a whole different ballgame. Yes, they might have visited when they were sophomores way back when, but they weren't the guys that Kirby was talking to after the game. That he had bigger fish to fry back then. He had guys that were seniors at the time that he was trying to get to commit 2 years ago. So guys like Oscar Delp, he has seen a game in person, but Was he the focal point for Todd Hartley and his crew? I don't think so. He was just a younger guy. So this right here is going to be crucial to build those in-state relationships. And like Trent said, he's going to have a bunch of in-state guys on there. Mitchell Fuller says, laugh out loud. It is a big day on the vault. Yeah, it is. The man gets like 1,500, 2,000 likes on his post in one day. Been working here damn near 8 years. I don't even think I got all those likes total. But anyways, it's going to be a big day. And Trent, how many revisions did you have last year of names that you dropped and names that you added? I want to put you on the spot here, but I think it was close to like 30, 40 maybe?
Yeah, because when you're dealing with this, a lot of stuff changes. You have Georgia leans, and even some guys that end up wanting to commit to Georgia that end up not having a spot. A lot changes from now until when the when the pen hits the paper. So there are some guys on the list that ultimately choose other schools, and there's some guys on the list that are not takes by Georgia in the end, and I try to revise it and get everything revised before an announcement's made. But and I also put some confidence levels on there.
Yep.
My 3 confidence level, which is not as high, and then I might have a 4 confidence level, which I think Georgia has an excellent chance of landing him, landing that guy on the list. I kind of put it together, put some confidence levels on it, and make some revisions when needed, and at the end of the day, see how many I get wrong.
Yeah. You're not Joe Lunardi with his bracket being perfect every year, but you're damn close, Trent. And I know the folks over at UGASports really appreciate that. So be on the lookout for that, guys. Trent, I don't want you to give any more names away. Please don't. But with your class right now, would it be potentially the number 1 class in the class of 2022 as it stood right now with what you've got penciled in?
Looking at rankings right now, it would be, it very likely could be number 1, definitely in top 2. And, I think there's a couple of spots that are kind of unclear right now. I think it's going to be a loaded defensive line class. Already seen the names. And I think, I've said since day one, Trey Scott is an excellent teacher of the game. And there's a reason why he's on Kirby's staff. He's an excellent teacher of the game. He's an excellent developer, as you've seen with guys like Jordan Davis and stuff. He just needs that guy to go in the pro and or get drafted. And I think it's going a little faster than expected. I thought it might take Jordan Davis going round 1 for everything to start to pop. But I think everybody's starting to see the development he's made in these players, and he's starting to build those relationships on the trail. And I think it's really taken off. And I think 2022 is going to be huge for that.
No, I think you're exactly right, Trent. I think a lot of folks had given up on Trey Scott his first couple of years. Recruiting weren't the best. He did find some diamonds in the rough, and now it's starting to pay off in a big way. Rhett Womack here. We've got a couple questions coming in. Karen, thanks for watching. She says she's watching, or Darrell from Sylvester, Georgia. I think you're on your wife's account, Darrell. It's okay. It's all right. But Rhett Womack says, beyond Kojo and Morissette, could you give any info other than Coleman on a real game changer Georgia's going to land in the 2022 class? Feel free to pass.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a couple names on there tomorrow. And the thing, I think you could have game changers at the running back position. That's what I was referring to as kind of unclear.
Hey, Trent, we got somebody calling in. Let's see what we got here.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for calling in and talking with us. This is Paul and Trent on the UGASports Call-In Show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with?
It's Gerald.
Gerald, hot diggity dog. Gerald, what's going on up there in Lafayette?
Same old.
Same old?
Small town, you know.
Yeah. Not a lot going on this weekend. Did you cook out anything on the grill?
No, it's raining already here.
Oh, it's raining.
Just about all day, yeah.
Man, it felt good down here, brother. It was like 76. We put up some.
It was warm, just raining.
Oh.
Off and on. But, he's talking about slot receivers.
Yeah.
I tell you, I like to see him get a shot at that. He's a jack of all trades. I've seen him play. Vlad McConkey.
Oh yeah, isn't he up from your way, ain't he?
Well, it's over in Murray County.
Yeah.
We used to play him some, but I've seen him play a couple of times. He can quarterback, run punts back, kick offs.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on him, Trent?
No, I like his game, and I think he'll be a contributor for Georgia before it's over. I think there was some, and didn't he deal with some injury issues, COVID issues, or something at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I think he had something. Yeah, he had something holding him back. He is a little tiny, but I do, like you said, Gerald, I do like his game. I think he could contribute. I don't know if next year's his time to shine necessarily with Arian Smith and Blaylock and guys like that. But I think he does have a potential to. Kirby's not going to offer this kid a scholarship if he's never going to see the field in any capacity. He could have easily, tried to give him a preferred walk-on and bring him in that way. Go ahead, Trent.
I've seen him playing the wide receiver. I tell you, I don't think in the 2 games I've seen him in, they passed him quite a bit, and the other guy quarterback. But I don't think I ever seen him miss a pass.
Really?
That was kind of like
hands like glue. I'm telling you.
That was kind of like Todd Monken's guy, and I think you could, see him. I'm not sure that this coming year will be the year, but with Kyrus Jackson after this year moving on, and Demetrius Robertson maybe moving on, unless he's going to be here, until he's 30, and then Blaylock coming back from 2 ACL surgeries. I think 2022 might be that year where he really makes a name for himself.
Yeah, he jack all trades.
just a good old boy from up there in Murraysville.
Well, he's over in Northeast Mountains, kind of over there.
Yeah.
Blue Ridge over in that area, but I don't know. I just think if you ever got him in that slot and got him right behind some of them taller blockers, it'd be hard to see him. But he's taller than Stetson Bennett, just stays that way.
Yeah, 10-4.
Now, if I see they'll throw it out there, let him quarterback.
Hey, might just. You never know. There's some knowledge from Gerald right there that Ladd could play QB in a pinch.
About like this past year, not this coming year, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But I just hope everything goes real well this coming season.
Well, we will. Every time we're live, man, we will definitely have a spot for you to give us a call, Gerald. So don't feel like a nuisance when you call in. We appreciate you calling in every time. So
I don't feel like I don't bother me. Y'all have a good night.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right, bye.
And that's Gerald from Lafayette, folks. Gerald from Lafayette. So good to hear from him, guys. We're going to be getting off of here in just a moment. If you guys have any other calls and want to give us a call, 706-363-3773. Lines open. Trent, we touched on a lot of stuff tonight, man. Arik Gilbert, obviously, the big news of the weekend. Darion Kendrick also, the Clemson corner that PFF Brent said his speed would really fit into Kirby's scheme that Kirby's looking for in an outside corner. So that's going to be one to watch. He was, removed from the team by Dabo. So, that's never a good thing. Didn't enter into the portal necessarily. Didn't enter into the portal necessarily on his own there, Trent. So you got to look in. Go ahead.
For them off the field issues and see if he's from a talent standpoint, I jump on him. But you got to look at the off the field issue or whatever he had that kind of pushed him out of Clemson and see if those match up. See if it's a good person for George to be going up against practice every day. So
right. We talked to Anthony Dasher about the Diamond Dogs and their 7-1 start and how they've really relied on freshman pitching. They've got a couple freshman catchers who I really like. I'm calling it now. Boom. Me and Rhett Womack are. Is Tom Crean the answer? We discussed that as well with Dave McStats. basketball might be crazy this offseason, Trent. We might have a coaching search that we could potentially follow. Who knows what's going to happen? This is going to be interesting for Josh Brooks as his kind of first AD decision is what he's going to do with Tom Crean and that contract that he has.
Next move Georgia's got to make, and you know, from a basketball standpoint, recruiting the state of Georgia has got to be first and foremost the number one thing on the mind of the decision makers at Georgia, and bringing in a guy who's got serious Georgia connections would be my number one thing that I go after, because you know, even if you never left the state of Georgia and you recruited the state of Georgia, you could have a quality basketball team year in and year out. And until you have a coach in Athens who have those connections and can bring those, 3 out of the top 5 or 3 out of the top 6 kids in from the state of Georgia, you're going to struggle, because you can't count on going into Texas and Michigan year in and year out and bringing in those guys. And I think you got to have somebody that's going to build those connections.
And then last but not least, Trent, recruiting the class of 2022, the big, bold, flavorful prediction list from Trent Smallwood will be live tomorrow. You said at noon?
I'll have it up around noon.
Noon p.m. over on UGASports, The Vault. What do you say?
I said I got to get the kids to school and I got to get back home.
Right.
Put it all together, and I'll submit it around noon.
And over in the chat, Rhett and Mitchell are both cracking me up. Now, we had an Alabama fan that decided to join the chat, and they are giving him the business. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it a night, let you guys handle him, and we will be back. Give us 7 more days, 7 sleeps. 7 sleeps, we'll be back and chatting with you guys again. Maybe about Arik Gilbert, maybe about Darion Kendrick, maybe about neither one of them. I don't know. Right now, it's so up in the air, but every week is different. The transfer portal is popping, and Georgia has definitely some scholarships to hand out, and Kirby is not going to not hand those scholarships out. So it'll be interesting to see where those scholarships go, and Trent and I will have everything for you. And guys, don't be afraid. That phone line doesn't bite. 706-363-3773. Gerald calls in every show. He's from Lafayette. I don't even know where that is. He's told me 7 times. I have no clue. He says that he's seen me up there. I've never been there. But we love Gerald calling in, and we will talk to you guys later on. Much love. Trent, you got anything else for the people?
I mean, you don't know where Lafayette is. Just look on the thing. There's one spot of rain that was on the.
Yeah. He said he had rain today, man. It was a perfect day. So he's not that close to me. I don't know. I was over in your neck of the woods today, Trent. We were having some pork ribs, man. So enjoy the rest of the weekend, guys. And thanks so much for joining in with us over here on UGA Sports Call-In Show. I'm Paul Maharry. Trent Smallwood's that way right there, and we will be back with you guys next week. Thanks so much.